Hello, welcome back to my podcast, the Theatric Dyspraxic podcast. My guest today is going to be Oliver Chadwick. He is known as the Dyspraxic Filmmaker, which you can find him on Twitter at Dyspraxic Filmmaker or Dyspraxic Fantastic Filmmaker, I think is what it says. Um, and yeah, I've never spoken to him before. It's the first time I'm meeting him. And I'm going to ask him a few questions, and we're just going to chat. So welcome to my podcast.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hello. Yeah, so I'm a dyspraxic filmmaker, currently doing a college course. My main interests are documentaries and stuff like that, because I feel like society, it has many problems in it, and documentaries are a way of fixing those problems. People who watch them, they can be influenced to change what they view and what they think. So like in the modern Western society of the UK, it's very about business and economy. I see businesses, I see the politicians, what they do. Oh, I'll just turn my thing on Do Not Disturb.
All right.
Sorry about that.
It's all good.
So politicians, they see a lot of problems in the UK as business problems. They try to help businesses rather than people, and consequently, there's loads of homeless people taking drugs everywhere, living horrible lives because they can't get a job, because the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. We see discrimination, people of ethnicity, sexual orientation, disability getting discriminated against because of business, because businesses influence people to be normal, to be what's classed as normal rather than outside the box.
And this is something that you try to portray in your films.
Well, ever since I was a little child, and I've seen all these problems in society and problems in a modern society, I've wanted to be part of fixing that and helping the people who are struggling. Originally, I wanted to be a psychologist or a psychiatrist and help people with their mental health. But I soon realised that in further education, the academicness of that wouldn't be great for me. I also realised that one of the things I really enjoyed doing was art, but because of my dyspraxia, I found it hard to do art like a normal person. I found it hard to do fine art. So taking photos and editing photos and then making videos was a thing I really liked. And then when I realised that psychology wasn't a thing I wanted to carry on. And also I did geography, which I realised wasn't a thing I wanted to carry on. I then went down the route of media. And in media, we see a lot of, again, from the rich and powerful, we see them taking control of the media and making the media portray certain people in a bad light. But I wanted to show the truth about things and hope that people were influenced by my documentaries to be truthful and be a pro-society person.
Can you describe a little bit the first time that you noticed something in society that made you sort of think that you wanted to create some kind of media, some kind of documentary to portray it?
Well, the first thing I did really, which was showing differences in society, was when I got into street photography, taking pictures of all the different cultures that we don't really see in newspapers or in videos and films. We don't really see that in a good light. Taking pictures of different cultures and people expressing themselves in a way which the media doesn't show. I used to take photos like that, and then when I did my GCSE, I did a thing about the social ladder, which, looking back at it, was just me really being very judgmental of people. I took street photography again but portrayed it as the social ladder. So people wearing nice, expensive designer clothes at the top, and then homeless people sleeping in the middle of the city, begging for money, taking drugs at the bottom of the social ladder. And it shows the contrast of a 21st century society that really should not be happening in 2020. We shouldn't really be seeing this. And it's really sad that we are. In America, what's it like in America with social classes then?
Well, I think one of the biggest issues is there is a division between our there's an issue with our distribution of wealth.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, and I don't know much about, I'm not qualified to speak like an expert on societal issues, but it seems like in the way of like taxes, it seems like the top 1% pays far less of the taxes than the middle class.
Yeah.
And well, when you, it's like just recently they came out with our president Donald Trump's tax returns or tax information or whatever, and it showed that he basically committed fraud, or he basically tax evasion, and he's able to get away with something like that because he's technically rich. And it just seems like we live in a society that favors the wealth, and I don't know. I mean, I could talk about this type of stuff and I wouldn't talk about it eloquently, but you know, I think that that's definitely a big issue, is that I don't think people are given a fair, I don't think there's equal opportunity
Yeah,
among classes. And I think that um, it's kind of like George Carlin said, you know, it's like there's the rich who pays, you know, none of the taxes and gets to keep all the money. Then there's
yeah,
the middle class who does all the work and they pay all the taxes. And then there's the poor who are just there to scare the crap out of the middle class, which
yeah.
using more polite language, but you know, I try to keep it clean on here. But that's kind of the thing that I see. But you know, I mean, where I live, it's more pervasive in cities. You know, if as far as like
Yeah,
the derelict class, out of the people who are living on the streets, the homeless. I actually have a brother who is homeless right now, living
yeah,
up north, and he's living in a homeless shelter for now. But you know, it's so I kind of get a little glimpse into that world, and I'm fortunate that you know I have people that I can rely on. But um, yeah, it's I definitely understand the feeling of, in today's society, why are we still dealing with this kind of poverty? It's almost like Victorian the way
yeah.
it is, you know.
There's so many things in modern society which you look at and you think, well, why does that still exist? Um, it's really sad to hear and to see. Why is a person living on a street with no money, um,
They can't get any
taking drugs?
opportunities for jobs and stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
They can't get help.
exactly. And then there's people with mental health problems which end up being homeless or become a drug addict, and because drugs are illegal, they don't get the help they need, so they end up becoming homeless. The people whose parents are have problems, either anger issues or drug issues, and then their kids become homeless because of that.
And
There's
often
no,
poverty breeds poverty. You
yeah,
know, if
exactly,
somebody's born into poverty, it's really hard for them, especially, I mean, I think it's even worse nowadays. It's really hard for people to get themselves out of it when that's where
exactly,
they came from, you know, when they have nobody that can help them get out of that poverty. Because you know, our modern day society, things haven't really changed, and yet our cost of living has increased, but we
yeah,
still make the same wages. And you know, there's still difficulties finding jobs, you know, at least that's how it is in America.
yeah.
um and it's just, I don't think people are afforded the same opportunities. And
I mean,
we'd like to think that are that things have that we're more progressive now, but whenever you really look at it, you find that a lot of things in society haven't changed all that much.
yeah. Um, with with the film I showed you about self isolation, which I made for my final major project for the first year. Um,
Which I'll provide a link to that in my YouTube edit
yeah,
of this podcast.
thanks. And that showed the struggles with mental health that people were going through. Um, the government didn't focus on mental health at all in the UK. Their main focus was on businesses, hence why we I went into lockdown so late, and now when coronavirus is still, the people who are getting it, the rates are still really high and increasing, being let out to go to the shops, and we're being let out
That's
to
exactly what
go to
happened.
college.
It's exactly what's been happening here as well.
Yeah. It's just stupid. And it's all because of politicians who nobody trusts anymore.
Right.
No one knows, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No one knows who to vote for. Because every political party seems to have political groups, people which are bad and people which are good.
And we're so divisive now, too.
Yeah.
Everything is us versus them, no matter what group it is. There's so much antagonism between just different groups, whether it's different political parties or whatever, or different social groups.
Yeah.
And we can't really come together, and that's how we, bring in these politicians that, you find that the only options that you have left are there's no good option. There's only the lesser of two evils. There's no one politician that's actually in it for the benefit of the people. For the most part, they do exist, but they usually don't get sworn in.
Where they do exist, and in our country, lots of people do vote for them. But then the press, the newspapers, they get paid loads and loads of money by the rich people who only care about themselves to say things about the good politicians to stop them getting voted in.
That's another issue too. There's so much influence on the media because of the power of the wealth, the wealthy class, is that they're able to spend money to manipulate the press, to sway and to put spin on certain stories for their benefit, and to diminish the image of somebody else. That's sort of what happened in our country with the election, and the way that the press was sort of depicting Bernie Sanders when he was running, and making him look bad. And even though he was in it for the people, he wasn't able to secure the nomination. And now I'm not looking forward to the next 4 years of living in America. no matter who ends up winning,
Yeah. And I was watching the other night a program on the BBC. I think it's called The Rise of Rupert Murdoch Dynasty. Rupert Murdoch owns loads of media outlets. He owns the Sun newspaper. He owns Sky. I think he owns Fox News. I'm not sure, but he owns a lot of different news, and he basically is the person who's been deciding for the past few years who gets into Parliament, because he's been the one who's been making sure all the newspapers, all the media is against the political group he doesn't like.
It's very similar to William Randolph Hearst in the 20th century.
Yeah. And it's not just him. there's loads of rich people, powerful people who own lots of media, who then influence the audience to vote for a certain group.
It was really interesting watching what I've seen of your work. I only watched the couple. You sent me a couple of videos that I watched.
Yeah.
And I watched them last night, and it was interesting. It was very sort of ethereal and kind of almost surrealistic, but not like subversive or anything. It was just like the way that it was shot and the flow of it was interesting. Like you said, the social isolation one that was about mental health. You really felt isolated in the way that it was shot and the way that it was set up. Pretty much
Thanks.
The production of it, which I think was very interesting. You know, I always enjoyed films like that had that kind of art house kind of quality to it.
I think films which have a sense of realism, you want someone, when they're watching a film, to believe as much as possible that it's real.
And whenever it's shot in a way that's kind of like, it's not like it's like a documentary, but it's not like, there's not distance from it like you get with most documentaries, which is like there's just a camera crew and stuff. It's like it has like lights and stuff, and it's like you're watching somebody, but it's like you're almost in their head. You know, you're almost watching it from their perspective, even though it's not a point of view shot. It's just the camera's closed in on them, but it's not too much. You know, it doesn't go overboard.
Yeah. Well, like when you're watching action films, that's the problem, because they don't focus on the person, they focus on the action, and therefore for like a target audience that doesn't like stunts and action, that would be bad for them, because they don't get to see the emotional side of things, and they don't have any personal link with the character.
It's all about perspective, and I think that one of the most underrated aspects of filmmaking is the cinematography, because so much of the tone and the emotion of everything comes down to the way a film is shot.
Yeah.
Are you the cinematographer to your own film?
Yeah, I am. So I
guess your background in photography helps with that.
Yeah. With my films, I like to focus on emotion. So doing close-ups, capturing as much detail as possible when I'm filming is what I like to do. And then editing wise, I like editing. It's one of my favorite things to do.
It's relaxing, isn't it? I feel the same way when I'm making my content.
Time flies by when you're editing.
It's like, it's just like you're there. It's like you focus on it, but it's almost like you can let your mind drift away, and it's just and you get to experiment. You know, it's a cathartic feeling.
You bet once it's done, you have that feeling of I can't even describe the feeling. I don't know if anyone else has the feeling, but I definitely
understand. I heard something about how somebody said that the film comes together in the editing. I know that that's
Yeah,
cool, but it's almost like even if you have like a full script for a film and you shoot it, you can still like rebuild the story,
yeah,
or you can change just by editing it. You can change the story. And I mean, there's films that have started out one way, and because of editing, they turn it into something completely different.
yeah. Well, with editing, I edit. I plan the editing before I do the video. I edit it how I've planned, and then I look at it again and think, well, this could look better with that, and that could look better with this. And with editing, uh, I like VFX and effects, but I don't like to go overpower with it, because at the end of the day, it's fake.
It takes the realism out of it.
Yeah, I only add it in if I physically, if it actually adds something to the film.
Yeah, it's better to use
Or
it sparingly.
yeah,
Have you so you've made a few films, mostly documentaries, it seems. Have you ever been interested in making a film that was scripted, or sort of a fictional work?
yeah. I've, as well as documentaries, I've not made any, but I've thought about scripted films. So I I don't. I mean, there's one which, so some people on the bus, talking on the bus, getting up to shenanigans, like a school bus. Uh, Different groups of teenagers, different cliques, all intermingled. Um, so getting up to all sorts of mischief that teenagers would get up to. And then there's this bus driver who's grumpy, um, typical working class. Um, he likes list. But he's also depressed, with the world, because he's got this boring job as a bus driver. Well, why would you be happy if you, unless you liked driving around all day, looking at new things, which some people do, but you're not driving around all day, you're looking at new things. You're looking at the same thing every single day of your life.
The same roots and
The same annoying teenagers, which just make you shout at them. Because I was once one of those annoying teenagers on the bus, although I never got told off by the bus driver.
right.
So
It's kind of like a contrast between the teenager stories and
yeah,
the bus drivers, where it's like
the teenagers are just having fun,
they're living
grinding.
their youth, and the bus driver probably is looking at that, and it probably reminds him of his own youth, and it probably
Yeah,
makes him think of his own circumstances, like how they've changed and how things haven't gone like they were, and it's, I mean, I'm only 26, but I look at younger people and I find myself thinking like, oh, if they only knew what the real world was like,
yeah,
you know.
um,
But you got to
but,
enjoy your youth.
yeah. I was a bit of a crazy kid on the bus. So there's these girls, they're really annoying girls. They sit at the front of the bus. They're the ones who would probably have now fallen in love with TikTok. And TikTok is a great app, but there's an annoying side of TikTok. They would be on that annoying side.
Yeah, I've only seen the annoying side of TikTok.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't appeal to me, but
I feel like I'm too old for it now. You know, I
yeah,
Instagram, and I just recently got Twitter. That was the contention I made for this podcast. Is like, oh, I'll get a Twitter to promote it.
yeah. Well, I had Instagram. I deleted Instagram because it just was so bad. Seeing photos of people enjoying their lives every day. I'm a photographer, so I'm not an influencer, so I don't post photos of myself enjoying my life. I post artwork.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to see people enjoying their lives. I'd rather see people not enjoying their lives
Well, it's
because,
always fake too. You know, they always put that image out.
yeah, it is fake, but it's still not a nice feeling when you just see loads of people enjoying themselves and you're sitting in bed.
Well, that's why social
Going,
media is a depressant. You know,
yeah,
I think that's a big reason why so many people are. I mean, I'm not going to blame one single thing on, for society's issues, but I think that's one reason why a lot of, especially young people, are very, depressed, because
yeah,
they see other people's lives, and of course they always build themselves up and build their lives up on social media as opposed to the reality of it. You know.
when I was doing a study in psychology, I found there was a study which showed that people using Facebook had a considerably larger amount of envy towards towards other people than people who didn't use Facebook. Um, and envy causes depression. So Facebook and all other social media apps definitely cause depression. And to be honest, that's why things like TikTok might actually be good, because I don't have TikTok, but what I know from it is it's all people doing trending dances in front of cameras, and unless they're doing a trendy dance in front of a camera, in front of a swimming pool in a mansion, I don't think a trendy TikTok dance is going to make someone feel that depressed.
Right.
But I don't know.
Let's talk a little bit about some of your influences. Can you tell me a little bit about maybe some of the filmmakers or some of the photographers or people that have
So,
influenced
yeah,
you in your work?
filmmaking wise, there's a guy called Paddy Rivel, I think his name is. He's a BAFTA award winner, and he's made films about really good documentaries about prison, and also about culture. He's made a few documentary series about prison, where he starts off with just your regular prison documentary that you'd see, but then you see life after prison. You see the women's prison, and it really opens your eyes up into the prison system, criminal system, and how bad it is. Other influences. This is a company called 72 Films. They've made a Netflix documentary series about Donald Trump. They've made a documentary series about not Jeffrey Epstein, but they probably will in the future. They've made a documentary series about Rupert Murdoch, like I mentioned before. The people who worked on that, they've made films. They've made a documentary called Ambulance on BBC Two, which captures the lives of paramedics, 24 hours in A&E, which captures the busy lives of resus, which is basically when someone's got a really bad life-threatening injury, they go to resus. And we see the busy doctors there, the patients. But I like that documentary because they also focus on the gossip the receptionists have, or the cleaners walking down the hospital cleaning. They don't just focus on like a normal hospital documentary. They don't just focus on the patient and the doctor. They focus on the whole hospital, even the paramedics at times.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's a really good documentary series. It's been going downhill recently, though. I think at first, when it first came out, they did what I described. Then it was really good. Now, the only thing outside of the doctors and the patient is the receptionist gossiping for like 1 minute per program.
I guess they tried to make it more mainstream.
Yeah.
For a while to maintain viewership or something.
Well, yeah, it's like any series or film of anything. After a few series or after a few films, they just can't be bothered anymore, and it just is rubbish. Or they can be bothered too much, and it goes rubbish. That tends to happen. Either they lose interest or they rapidly gain interest.
So what was it like for you whenever you were creating the SPLD in the workplace documentary? How did that come about, and what was it like?
Right. So when I was doing that unit, that assignment, I started off by making 3 mind maps, showing the different documentaries I thought about making. I then came to the conclusion that the SPLD one would be the best one to make, but I had no idea what to make it about. What I knew is, because I had nothing to do with the dyspraxic community I'm in now. I didn't really know anything about my learning difficulties. What I knew is that jobs, people, so a lot of people with who are neurodiverse find it hard with jobs. So I conducted a lot of research into into the rules of neurodiverse jobs and all the different the symptoms of different neurodiverse SPLDs. And after doing that, I then went out on the street. But my tutor, he gave me it's like it basically records people's voices when it's not a microphone, but it's like a microphone. He gave me one of them. I hired it from the college, and it didn't really work properly. So I only got one good interview, which is the interview you see at the start of that guy who's a web designer. And to be honest, he was probably the best interview I had anyway, so thank God it worked with him.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
What exactly is SPLD? If you could just explain a little bit about that for us.
SPLDs are it's autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, dyscalculia, and it's it's epilepsy as well.
So basically, the collective of divergent conditions.
Yeah. And this is what I'm about to say is going to be controversial. Because SPLDs are all of them so complex, I decided just to focus my research on the ones I struggled with personally, rather than all of them, and the ones I knew people who had. So I had a friend with ADHD, had a friend with autism, and I was dyspraxic. I have dyscalculia and I have dyslexia. So I didn't focus on epilepsy.
Right. Well, you can only talk about the things. I mean,
Yeah.
It's hard to depict things you don't have much experience with. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I understand that. And those things are things that need to be talked about, you know. Somebody else can handle the other stuff, you know.
Yeah.
An epileptic filmmaker or something.
Yeah. So I filmed my mum and dad talking about me growing up with my learning difficulties and what they think how I would struggle later on in life. I interviewed some SENCO, which is the SENCO workers, which are learning support at my college, they weren't very helpful at all. And I could tell just by interviewing them that they weren't very well trained. And I really hope my college doesn't listen to this podcast after saying that.
No, you're just being honest.
Yeah. Also, what else? And then I also I managed to get a guy from the Dyslexia Foundation, because actually dyslexia is the thing that's affected me most out of them all. So I wanted to look into dyslexia as if I wanted to get a professional on to talk to an interview, it would be someone who had dyslexia.
Right.
Yeah, so that's what I did. And then my tutor, told me I needed to do more After Effects. So I messed the whole documentary up by trying to put loads of effects in, I feel. But I think without the effects, it is very enjoyable and informative to watch.
Yeah, I only it was pretty late at night whenever I watched it, so
Yeah.
I wasn't. I mean, it was interesting though. I thought it was
Yeah.
fascinating. I'll have to give it another watch again. But what were there any interesting things that you specifically learned about these types of things about SPLD in the workplace that you didn't know before, just from making the documentary?
Well, I didn't realize all these rules about reasonable adjustments. No one has ever told me about that. I mean, at this stage, I wouldn't be getting a job anyway at this stage in life.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
Oh, okay.
So I wouldn't be getting a job because I'm not very good at interviews when it comes to jobs.
Yeah, I
So
don't think any of us are. I don't think I've met
no,
a dyspraxic who said, "I'm great at interviews."
yeah,
It's always out of our element.
yeah. I've forgotten what I was saying. But I'll just start talking about reasonable adjustments. That was it. So no one's ever told me about reasonable adjustments. So it was interesting to find out about them. I also found out about a lot of the public because I did a vox pop, which is basically where you interview loads of random members of the public. I asked them about what rules and what adjustments do people make in their workplace to suit people with dyspraxia and other learning difficulties. And actually, because I was quite surprised that actually a lot of them knew. Well, they didn't know, but they knew what adjustments should be made. They didn't know what adjustments their workplace make, but they knew what adjustments should be made. And to be honest, they wouldn't know what adjustments their workplace should make because they've not got learning difficulties. So they don't need to know that.
Right, because they don't experience it themselves. They're not really sure how to put those systems in place. And it seems like a lot of people with learning difficulties don't even know that there are systems in place because there's just not much.
There's not much out there.
And that's why I think it's important to talk about the things openly so that maybe we can actually put these systems in place, because it's not like people with neurodiverse conditions and disorders, it's not like they can't work. It's just that they need certain resources to help them in a job.
Yeah, like I'm a great filmmaker. I'm really good at camera work. However, I always need my dad to help me to set up camera equipment, like if I'm setting up a shoulder mount, or if I'm putting my camera on a tripod. I can't do that on my own.
Right.
And like at college, we were doing an experiment where we take pictures of different fruits. And because my camera, you opened the battery bit to get the SD card out. I opened the battery bit and there was no SD card in there. So I was sat there thinking for ages, why isn't there an SD card in this battery bit? And then my tutor said, that's the battery bit, the SD card isn't in there. And I knew that the SD card wasn't in there, but I just had to think about it for ages. And I feel like some people don't understand that we can do stuff, we just do it slower with some things. I know loads of people who don't, because I went to a school for people with learning difficulties, so I know loads of people who can't ride a bike, for example.
Yeah, like me.
I can't ride a bike. I mean, I can ride a bike, believe it or not.
I can ride an exercise bike.
Yeah, but I learned to ride a bike in year 5, when most people would learn to ride a bike in reception. And to this day, I crash into something at least every time I go on a bike ride, to the point where I've become a bit fearless of what I do on a bike. Like, as mountain biking, I have to go really fast on a mountain bike, on a downhill mountain bike trail, which is graded at a grade which I've not got near enough any skills to do. I have to go down that trail in order to feel the fear of riding a bike. Because now when I ride a bike down a hill, that some people would feel a thrill from going down, I ride the bike down the hill and I don't care, because if I crash, I've crashed so many times that I just get up and carry on.
You've gotten used to it.
Yeah,
it's a surprise. It doesn't
exactly.
You don't have that element. It's just like, oh, I've crashed again.
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's this joke in my family where I just ride into a bin or a lamppost or a tree on my bike. I don't know why I do it, but I do it. And so another thing over lockdown I've got into is skateboarding, which is a really big achievement for me. And
yeah, it's a hard thing for any dyspraxic.
Yeah, but I still, all my friends who are skateboarding, they can do a nollie, they can do a ramp and go down ramps, and they are now learning how to do kick flips and stuff like that. I can ride a skateboard down the road. That's a great trick. Yeah.
All right.
I bought a longboard recently because I thought, well, I can't learn skateboarding tricks for the life of me, but I do like cruising around, so I bought a longboard. Longboards are meant for riding down hills. I went on a longboard down a hill. It started like crazy shake, like moving all over the place, out of control. And then I dived off it, and I landed like about a meter away from it. and that was fun.
Well, just the fact that you're able to do mountain biking and
Yeah,
longboarding and skateboarding, I think a lot of dyspraxics will be impressed with that
yeah.
because I
Well,
can't do any of those things.
I'm very fortunate and surprised at the same time that I've got the name dyspraxic, but I can also do that. However, things I can't do, I can't tie my own tie.
Hmm.
I can't tie my shoelaces. Um, and I can't like tie knots basically.
There's because I've done a lot of like theater and acting and stuff. There's obviously things that I've had to do
Yeah,
on stage that were, a dyspraxic would think, oh man, but I've like dancing and singing
yeah,
and
yeah,
doing like stunts and stuff. I've done sword fights. I've done fight scenes. I've done
yeah,
dancing and singing, and it's a challenge. And of course, it's even subtle things like I had to light somebody's cigarette. Well, it was fake, but I had to light a lighter on stage, and I actually was never able to do that before, but I had to practice again and again just to be able to light the lighter. And it's kind of funny the
yeah,
things that we feel that seem basic, but we feel like but they are accomplishments all the same, because our standards for being capable of doing these types of things are different from that of neurotypicals. So we're once we
yeah,
do these things, it's like from a dyspraxic perspective, you hear all these stories. I mean, just hearing about dyspraxics who actually drive cars, I'm just like, wow. I'm like envious and impressed.
yeah. I'm really worried about learning to drive a car. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it or not.
I'm
I hope.
26 and I've never been able to. I've
Yeah,
driven a car once in my life, and I don't know if I'd be able to do it. And it's scary to think about it, because if you fail, I mean, if something bad
yeah.
happens, it could be catastrophic.
I've wanted. I mean, I've liked the idea of getting a van, like a transit van, renovating it. Like you see on YouTube, where they renovate a van into like a small house. I
Pimp my
don't
ride.
know. Yeah, I don't know why. Just always thought that I'd like to do that.
Oh, that sounds
Uh,
really cool.
yeah, but then I might not be able to ride the van. So what's the point?
No, you
I
can drive
thought,
it off road.
yeah. Um. So what? Would you like to hear some of the things I did on the bus? Going back to the bus,
Oh,
school bus.
sure.
Um. So there's, as I said, there are these annoying girls. One of them was particularly annoying. So I put a banana in her bag because my mum always used to put bananas in my lunchbox, and because of the rude joke which goes around associated with eating bananas, I never ate my banana. Um, I did, however, put it in someone's bag once. And a few weeks later, she opened the bag and the banana was like completely mushed up, like a banana milkshake, except it was green. And I was thinking, that is just the best thing I've ever done. Another thing I've done, which is the best thing I've ever done, is there's this girl, another girl. I didn't do it all to girls, by the way. This is another girl, though. She is a snob, um, and I don't like snobs. And I went to a private school because of my learning difficulties. and there's a lot of snobs there. So she was being particularly snobbish. So I put my cheese sandwich in her pencil case because I thought that is a really good idea. The next day, my school, like, I guess, school counsellor comes and speaks to me, and she's like, why did you put a cheese sandwich in this person's pencil case? She's just been sick in the toilets. How does someone see a cheese sandwich in a pencil case and then throw up in a toilet? Why would that make you sick? It's only been in there for 12 hours. The other thing I remember doing was, there's this person, I don't know his name, his brother is called Josephine. I mean, not called Joseph. He's nicknamed Josephine. So then his brother, who looked exactly like him, nicknamed Mini Josephine because he looked like a smaller version. And Mini Josephine, he said something rather rude, which I don't know if you want to cut out of the podcast or not. But I have a lizard, a pet lizard called Gary, and he said, because they didn't bully me, but they used to tease me. He said that I'll stick my finger up his bum.
Ooh.
Gary's bum, which I would never do to a lovely little creature. So I got
Why would
upset.
they even say that?
Because they're weird and snobby, and they don't know what it's like to. That's the language you get from a private school. I would not survive in a rough school. All my sisters, apart from one, have gone to state schools, I guess, schools which aren't private. And the stories they tell me, I would not survive in a school like that anyway. So he came up to me later, started teasing me whilst I was just sitting down, minding my own business. So I slapped him in the face, as you would. And then he told his mum, who rang the school up, and I got my first lunchtime detention for it, because I was a goody two-shoes at school and then let it all out on the bus. And then because of I got lunchtime detention, so I managed to get his phone number, and me, my cousin, my sister, my friends have all prank called Mini Josephine since. And up until recently, we've been doing that. Last time we prank called him, it said number not recognised. So either he's blocked my sister or he's got a new phone number. I'm hoping he's not got a new phone number, so that next time I meet someone, I can get them to annoy him for me.
Right.
Yeah. So I on the bus, my friend had ADHD. So I'd say he influenced me to do a lot of the stuff I did, because he was a bit like that himself. And it wasn't just his ADHD, I think it was his personality too. A lot of my friends either had ADHD or autism, because I, at times, was an extrovert, and therefore I liked to hang out with the people with ADHD who went around causing mischief, and at times I was more introverted, so I liked to just sit down, talk about nerdy stuff with my autistic friends. I had one friend called Max. Oh, maybe I shouldn't say his name. I had one friend who probably won't listen anyway, and
You didn't say his last name, so
yeah,
no one's gonna.
and he never told me what his problem was. People shouldn't have to tell you what their problem is, but it's kind of nice to know, because when you're autistic, you like to be left alone sometimes, don't you? And I strongly suspected he was autistic, because of the way he acted, and because of the autistic friends I had, he was similar to them. But I couldn't be sure, and so I acted with him as if he was one of my normal friends. I didn't know when it was time to leave him alone, because with an autistic person, they can show. With my other friend who I hang out with a lot, when he didn't want to talk, he would just sit there. You could see his facial expression was sad, and he wouldn't talk back when you talked to him. So you knew that it was time to leave him alone. With Max, because he never told me what his problems were, I just assumed, that he was normal, which he wasn't. And later on in year 11, when I became more aware of the disabilities my classmates had, and the way those disabilities made them act, I became more aware that Max was autistic, or could have been autistic. And so I just let him do what he wanted to do, because he always took control in a way, and was like, I want to go to IT club, which I liked IT club too, so I usually went with him. But I realised when he was in year 11, when I was older and wiser, that maybe he was autistic, and maybe I should just let him do what he wants. Because obviously with people who aren't autistic, I'm saying normal people, but I just mean people who don't, neurotypical. But you can often decide collectively with them what to do. With Max and with my other friend who had autism, you had to do what they wanted to do. It was very hard to make a collective decision of what to do.
Right, and hard to compromise.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about making a documentary or making a film about dyspraxia or something? That's one thing I've noticed, is that nobody's ever really made a film about
Yeah.
dyspraxia specifically.
Well, with my documentary I made, as well as focusing on problems I had, I wanted to focus on problems which were, because I had to, obviously, for academic reasons, I had to link it all to research. So I focused it on problems which were very common with people. So, for example, dyslexia is a very common, popular SPLD for someone to have. A lot of the people I know are like, oh, I have dyslexia. Obviously, a lot of the people who were like, oh, I have dyslexia, a lot of them had dyslexia, but it wasn't that bad. I had dyslexia, which was really bad. But with dyspraxia, I didn't focus on that in the documentary, which now I'm in this group, I realised, well, actually, that was a bad decision to make. Only focusing on the popular SPLDs with people, or the ones that are common, I should say. Dyspraxia, I would love to make a documentary on, because I think it's everyone knows what dyslexia is. Everyone knows what ADHD is because it's so distinct, the behaviour.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what autism is. But nobody knows what dyscalculia or dyspraxia is, because people say, oh, I've got dyslexia. A lot of them have also got dyscalculia and dyspraxia, so they tend to hide that. I've never seen someone and talked to someone face to face who have said, I have dyspraxia, or who have said, I have dyscalculia. But I have seen many, many people who have said, I've got ADHD, or I know someone who has ADHD. And the same goes for autism and dyslexia.
Well, a lot of these conditions are comorbid.
Yeah.
So a lot of people with ADHD, they might have dyspraxia, or people with autism, they may have dyspraxia as well. I mean, that's, it's been my experiences. I mean, people went through all sorts of different labels before I, on my own, discovered that it was actually this condition called dyspraxia. And again, I didn't know. I had to find it out on my own, because even the professionals around me didn't know what dyspraxia was, and I would sound like a broken record saying it, but there's just so little awareness for it, which is why I do what I do, and why Billy does what he does, and Pete he does, and there's so many different groups now, so many different people that are coming out to talk about it and say, hey, we're a group too. We have this that we deal with. It's a part of our everyday life. We should get some representation for it. And I think it would be good to make a documentary specifically about dyspraxia, especially one that is maybe not maybe out of the realms of conventionality or whatever, where it is shot in an interesting way, or it's put together in an interesting way that stands out, so that it'll draw people's interest from the style, but also it'll be informative. And hey, if you ever did that, I'd be happy to be interviewed, or even lend my voice if you needed a narrator. That's my area of expertise.
Well, we've got a Dicing Song Mike on Twitter. He can do the music. Pete and Dyspraxic Help for You can do research and promotion. You can be the presenter, and I can be the director.
That would be great. So
Yeah.
that's one thing I've always want people to do in the community is collaborate on different things, you know. Like I was talking to Mike Nelson, who does my theme song for this show, and he does the theme song for Dyspraxic Help for You, and he's a good friend of a lot of people in the dyspraxic community, and a great guy. I've spoken to him when we did an Instagram live stream,
Yeah.
which people can find on my other channel. And we discussed having dyspraxic musicians come together, because I'm also a lyricist. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, you know, I could provide some lyrics. Mike can produce the thing and add, you know, his instrumentation and his music. And if you know, if there's a guitar player who can play, you know, the guitar on, you know, just like have different people come on, dyspraxic singers, you know. But it didn't really gain it didn't really gain much traction.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really hard to get dyspraxics to come out in the community. I mean, they'll talk
Yeah.
about their experiences and post in the groups and stuff, but they don't get involved with a lot of the stuff going on. And of course, this week is Dyspraxia Awareness Week, and you know, some people are doing things for that. Some things, you know,
Yeah.
obviously I'm doing this podcast. Um, I'm probably going to put a few episodes of my podcast with during the week. Usually I would wait, you know, I'd space it out a bit, but I'd like to get a few in during this week, just for Awareness Week. We're trying to get people to come together to do a recorded Zoom where it's just basically a dyspraxic roundtable where we talk about our experiences and things like that. And
Yeah.
I think it'd be great for people to come together and collaborate on projects and stuff, especially for dyspraxia. Like a documentary would be great,
Yeah.
you know, and you direct it, and you know, I can lend my voice and performance, you know, my acting abilities for that. You know, dyspraxic musicians, and you know.
I really, really think that as we've seen with the LGBTQ um, community coming together and collaborating as a group and as one is one of the best ways to spread awareness of anything. Black Lives Matter. Everyone that's sharing the Black Lives Matter hashtag, showing videos, showing their stories and collaborating is something which should be done. And
especially
uh,
if the people involved actually, because dyspraxia, one of the things that a lot of us have in common is that we're kind of, as dyspraxics, we're kind of treated as though we can't do anything right, that we're no good at anything, that
yeah,
we're dumb, and that we're you know, incompetent. And working together and collaborating on a project and making it really good shows that, you know, this was made by dyspraxics and it kicks ass, you know.
yeah, I can't. Well, something you on Twitter, I've been tweeting out to people asking for them doing stuff defying this what the stereotype of dyspraxia. So, for example, someone's shared a painting, someone shared um, a photo of them cliff diving. So I've made a short kind of, I guess, short film. I'm currently editing. Um, that's a collaboration. showing the different the different things which are stereotyped but are wrong. Another thing I can't say too much about. Me, Dyspraxic Help for You, and Sing Song Mike have collaborated on a video which will be coming out in Dyspraxic Awareness Week.
Oh,
But don't say anything about it until it's come out, which should come out soon. Don't say anything about it though, because I probably will get in trouble.
yeah. Do you have any idea when it might be released?
I think
I might be able to time the upload for this.
I think it's getting released on Monday, but I can find out from him and I can get back to you if you want.
Well, I could just ask him directly. I'm always in contact with.
Yeah, that's fine.
You, so I can ask him about it. There's no worries with that. But yeah, I like to be involved and lend my talents. Obviously, there's not much I can do besides performance and
Yeah,
doing voice stuff, which I'm happy to do. Announcing, narrating, whatever. That's just my area of expertise. If you're making this video for Dyspraxics doing the things that they do, I mean, you're welcome to take from my channel or one of my channels some of the stuff that I've done on my main channel, which I can send to you. I have some plays that I've done, some of my acting. Wanted to take some of that and use
that would be good.
You're welcome to do that. I wouldn't mind.
I mean, might have trouble downloading it, but
well, there's websites that
illegal websites I can use.
yeah, well, they're not all illegal. There's one that I've used. I forget the name of it, but well, there's a thing you can. I know that there's an app.
Yeah, I've downloaded
like a YouTube downloader app.
I've downloaded an app called Clip Grab, which is good, but I've not used it in ages and don't know if it still works or not.
Right.
But I can try using that.
But yeah, I'll send you some of my channels if you wanted to take some of the footage off of there. And I'm okay with that.
I've not, as you said, not many people have been interested in collaborating because I guess it's only the start of dyspraxic awareness on Twitter, or it is for me anyway.
It does seem like it's growing, which I think is a good thing, and I'm happy to be a part of that. I mean, I don't know how much influence I'm gonna have, but I try to do what I can with my limited abilities. As little as I can do. Because I mean, some of the stuff that I've seen people do, like Dyspraxic Help for You, and some of these other people, is they put so much work into it, and it's impressive what they're able to do. And I don't have the same ability to research things about neurodiversity, because I'm more of a creative guy, but
I'll have to do research as part of my course. It's the most horriblest thing. It's so boring, and hopefully when I become a filmmaker professionally, I'll get into a job which researchers are separate from the actual filmmaker, because researching is I find it so boring.
Well, when you're on when you're more of on the creative side of things, then that's not the thing that you
Yeah,
enjoy most. There's people that really enjoy doing the research, and I mean,
yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
people become historians and archivists and stuff. But yeah, for people like us, like with the book that I'm writing about my experiences, um, I haven't done I've done some research on dyspraxia, but I'm mainly just drawing from my experiences with it. I'm listening to other people's stories and, trying to relate that to my experience. But, I could never write a book like that unless I did it my own way.
yeah,
Because if I tried to write like a guide on dyspraxia that was all about, I'd have to put it. I just, it's just not how I do things. It has to be about how it relates to my experience, and it can't just be about one specific thing, because dyspraxia does affect our lives, and we like to talk about it, but there's so much research that goes into it, into the clinical stuff and the technical aspect of it, that when you're more on the creative side of things, that your focus is going to be on something else. You're a right brain person rather than a left brain person,
yeah,
so that's not really your area of expertise.
yeah. I agree. Because with research, I do enjoy researching, as in looking at people's films and writing about how that inspires me. It's research about like target audience and stuff I don't like. So I already know what sorts of people will be interested in watching my documentary or my film. I don't need to research about it, but it's an important part of the course I'm currently doing, so
Well,
has to be done.
it's useful to know what captures like mainstream audiences.
Yeah,
You don't necessarily have to follow every rule. I mean, rules are made to be broken. It's the same in like
yeah,
music and things like that. Like I my goal when I was growing up was to be a screenwriter. That was what I wanted to be, and it's still something that I'm very passionate about. Actually, I wanted to be a filmmaker. I wanted to direct, write,
yeah,
but obviously I haven't had the same opportunities to actually do much directing, other than making some videos in high school and stuff. And I couldn't afford to get into film school or go to college. Um, and I would research. Yeah, I'll kind of look into like what the mainstream Hollywood films were doing, how those scripts are structured. But then it's like once you learn the rules, then you know how to warp it and how to
yeah,
alter it so that you can make it your way and how you want to do it. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but it's always useful to learn the tricks and learn the
yeah,
mainstream way of doing things, and the standard, and then finding a way to turn that into something that suits your style and your
yeah. Once you're respected, then you can do what you want, as we've seen from rich, powerful people that I talked about at the start.
and sometimes you have to learn how to do it a certain way, because when you're starting out, you
Yeah,
may have to be working for somebody else, like before you can make your own documentaries. You might have to make a documentary for like some television studio or something, which is a great job to have, but they would want things a certain way, and you'd have to go by their specifications. So it's useful to learn those types of tricks, but of course once you start doing stuff on your own and you build up that profile, then you know
I mean, people are never really working for themselves. They're always working for someone.
yeah, even if they're
Either,
completely independent, they're working for the audience.
yeah. Uh, so I'm probably gonna have to. I don't know. I'm probably gonna have to go soon.
Yeah, well, it's about a good time to begin wrapping it up because we've been talking for a while and it's been a very interesting conversation. I'm happy to have you on. I would be happy to have you on again, especially after
Yeah, yeah.
have some more you know projects and content
I'd
out there.
say, I'd say after this year, I'll probably know much more about filmmaking. And
Yeah, and we can go into like more specifics because obviously, I mean, this is a topic that's close to my heart because
yeah,
filmmaking was something that was always very that I was always passionate about. Not so much with documentary filmmaking, but you
short
know,
films, feature
uh,
films.
yeah, like well, like independent films or
Yeah, yeah.
comedy, drama, that kind of
Art, art
yeah,
house.
like normal fiction films.
Yeah,
Think Woody Allen or something. Those.
yeah,
Um, but I'm looking forward to the video that you come out with. I'm not going to ask anything else about it because, but yeah, I'm looking
yeah,
forward to seeing that. I know both those guys that you worked with very well. They've both helped me. I mean, Dyspraxic Help for You was my first guest.
yeah,
Second, and Mike obviously did my theme song, and I mean, I contact them, speak to them regularly. They're great guys, and I look forward to seeing more content from all of you guys. So thank you very much for coming on. Um, can you say anything else about your plans for Dyspraxia?
yeah. Uh, well, um, I'm doing, as I said, uh, a short film about people defying stereotypes of dyspraxia. Um, also, um, I've edited a music video. This is coming out after the music video will be released, so I'm editing something, editing that, and that's pretty much it. Obviously, I will be. This is my first dyspraxia awareness week, knowing that it actually exists.
Yeah,
I've
same
never,
here. Every
yeah,
time I hear about it, it's always afterwards. Like, what? That happened?
yeah. Uh, um, and the first one that I know people who have dyspraxia are doing stuff. So really, I mean, I've felt like, oh, I've contributed, but it's not my work really that's being promoted, it's someone else's, which is why I made the short film, because I felt like I should be contributing at least something. Um, uh, so that's what I did. And now, so I'll just really be just sitting back watching everyone else's content and what everyone else comes up with, because I've heard that this Dyspraxia Awareness Week is going to be a really good one, apparently.
Well, now there's so many people. Just in the last year, there's so many things that have
Yeah,
sprouted
but with
about it that people have been doing and working on, which I think is fantastic.
I think with coronavirus and lockdown, so many people have gone on Twitter and found this community. This small, I see as a small little bubble, to be honest, of um, people who know each other. Um, it's a really good bubble to be in, and it's definitely bursting and going out to other people.
Absolutely, it's just keeps growing and growing, which is great. And yeah, if you ever want me to work on something with you, record my
I'll
voice
hit you up.
and I'd be happy
I'll def.
to. And if you want to
Sorry.
get any footage from my videos, then you're welcome to do that as well.
Yeah. I'll. I'll definitely be doing stuff further in the year. I don't know yet if the stuff I'm doing is about dyspraxia or not. But if it is, I'm personally very bad at over voices, so I'll try and I'll contact you, I guess.
Hey, even if it's not about dyspraxia, I'm always happy to lend my voice to something if people want it. Whatever it's about, just give me the words, give me the script. I'll get on the mic and I'll read.
I brought one of them Chinese newer microphones. Bit of a bad mistake because they're not very good.
Right. The one that I have is fair. It's actually my brother's, but he doesn't mind me using it. He's not using it, so So before I let you go, is there anything else that you'd like to say before we wrap it?
Well, I have a portfolio that you can look at. cheddarchamfam.wixsite.com/Oliver Films.
I will put a link to that in the description when I put this on YouTube.
Yeah.
And you can also follow Oliver on Twitter. He's known as Dyspraxic Fantastic Filmmaker, and you can follow him at DCD Filmmaker on Twitter. And I'll also put a link to his YouTube channel in the description as well.
Thanks for that. I hope many people watch this, listen to this, and listen to many more of your podcasts, because I think your style of podcasting is really good and really will take off.
I really appreciate that. I try to give a platform for people to lend their voice and talk about the things that that are special to them. And I'm always happy to talk to anybody that wants to come on. So thank you so much for being my guest today. And you'll be seeing many more things from Oliver in the future.
See you. Bye.